Battle of Cannae took place on August 2nd, 216 BC between the Roman Republic led by consuls Lucius Aemilius Paulus and Gaius Terentius Varro and Hannibal's Carthaginian army. The Romans deployed their massive force in a deep, dense formation designed to smash through the center with sheer weight of numbers. Varro, commanding on the day, aggressively pushed the infantry forward while leaving the cavalry flanks relatively weak. Hannibal, however, deliberately thinned his center line to draw the Romans in, allowing his superior Numidian and Spanish cavalry to sweep around the sides and his veteran African infantry to close the trap from the rear. The Roman commanders underestimated Hannibal's tactical genius, convinced that their overwhelming numbers would simply crush any opposition. They failed to scout the Carthaginian dispositions thoroughly and drove straight into the envelopment without properly coordinating their own flanks. The Romans fielded about 86,000 troops, including roughly 80,000 infantry, against Hannibal's approximately 50,000 men. In a single day of slaughter, Roman casualties reached between 50,000 and 70,000 killed or captured. The result was one of the worst single-day disasters in Roman history, nearly breaking the Republic and forcing a desperate shift to the strategy of attrition and delay under Fabius Maximus. This battle shows how overconfidence in numerical superiority and failure to adapt to an enemy's maneuvers can lead to total annihilation even for a powerful army. The Battle of Carrhae took place in June 53 BC between the Roman Republic under Marcus Licinius Crassus and the Parthian Empire led by General Serena. Crassus marched his legions deep into the Mesopotamian desert without sufficient water supplies or proper scouting parties. He rejected offers of Armenian cavalry support and kept his troops in a tight, compact formation ill-suited to the open terrain. The Parthians responded with relentless hit-and-run tactics from their horse archers, who maintained constant pressure while heavily armored cataphracts exploited any gaps that appeared. Crassus severely underestimated Parthian mobility and the extreme range of their composite bows, believing Roman close-order discipline and legionary shields would prevail in a set-piece battle. Poor intelligence completely overlooked how the flat, open landscape favored ranged cavalry over infantry. The Romans fielded about 40,000 men, mostly heavy infantry, against roughly 10,000 Parthians, almost all mounted. The Romans suffered about 20,000 killed and 10,000 captured, with Crassus himself among the dead. The disaster permanently halted Roman expansion into the east and humiliated the First Triumvirate, helping destabilize the Republic. This shows how ignoring terrain, logistics, and the enemy's unique strengths can doom even elite forces in unfamiliar environments. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest took place in September 9 AD between three Roman legions under Publius Quintilius Varus and Germanic tribes led by Arminius. Varus marched his long column through dense, muddy forest tracts in a stretched-out formation vulnerable to attack on all sides. He placed complete trust in Arminius, a Roman-trained auxiliary and supposed ally who deliberately guided the army into the trap while ignoring repeated warnings from other auxiliaries about an impending rebellion. Germanic warriors launched coordinated ambushes over several days, striking from cover with spears and clubs in the close terrain. Varus overestimated Roman dominance in Germania and Arminius's loyalty, dismissing crucial intelligence about betrayal. Inadequate scouting left the legions strung out without time to form defensive squares or proper battle lines. The Romans fielded about 20,000 to 30,000 men, including 3 full legions plus auxiliaries. The result was near total annihilation, with approximately 15,000 to 20,000 killed, and Varus himself committing suicide to avoid capture. Rome permanently abandoned all territory east of the Rhine, halting expansion for generations. This battle shows how misplaced trust, inadequate reconnaissance, and neglect of terrain can destroy even elite forces in well-executed ambush. The Battle of Agincourt, October 25, 1415, saw Henry V's English army, 6,000 to 9,000 men, defeat a much larger French force, 20,000 to 36,000, during the 100 Years' War. Overnight rain turned the field into deep mud, bogging down heavily armored French knights who charged in disorganized waves without proper support or coordination. English longbowmen, protected by stakes, rained devastating volleys, slaughtering thousands before close combat. French arrogance ignored terrain and English firepower, leading to 6,000 to 10,000 dead, many drowned or trampled. The victory bolstered Henry's French claims and prolonged the war. Lesson: arrogance and disregard for weather or terrain can turn numerical superiority into catastrophe. The Charge of the Light Brigade, October 25, 1854, Crimean War, involved 670 British cavalrymen under Lord Cardigan charging into a mile-long valley lined with Russian guns due to misinterpreted orders from Lord Raglan, wrongly conveyed by Captain Nolan. Without support or reconnaissance, they rode into deadly crossfire, losing 110 killed, 160 wounded, and 375 horses in minutes. It became a symbol of brave but futile heroism, crippling British cavalry. Lesson: ambiguous commands and poor communication doom even courageous troops. The Battle of Isandlwana, January 22, 1879, Anglo-Zulu War, saw 1,800 British troops under Chelmsford annihilated by 20,000 Zulu warriors. Chelmsford divided forces, left thin lines without defenses or centralized ammo, underestimated Zulu speed and discipline, and ignored scouts. Zulus encircled them and overwhelmed them, killing 1,300. The defeat shocked Britain and delayed conquest. Pickett's Charge, July 3, 1863. During the Battle of Gettysburg, Confederate General Robert E. Lee ordered roughly 12,500 infantry to make a direct frontal assault across open fields toward the fortified Union center on Cemetery Ridge. Under intense artillery and rifle fire, the tightly packed formations suffered heavy losses with little flank support. Lee wrongly believed prior bombardment had broken Union defenses and ignored General Longstreet's strong objections and the terrain's vulnerability. In less than an hour, Confederates suffered a similarly 6,000 casualties, killed, wounded, captured, with many units losing over 50%. This disaster became the Confederacy's high watermark, forcing Lee's retreat and marking a decisive turning point in the Civil War. Lesson: hubris and refusal to adapt tactics can doom even the boldest offensives against strong defenses. Gallipoli Campaign, 1915 through 1916. Allied forces, British, French, and Anzac, tried to seize the Dardanelles from the Ottoman Empire. Poor reconnaissance, inadequate planning, and underestimation of Ottoman defenses, terrain, and determination led to repeated failed frontal assaults on fortified positions. About 500,000 Allied troops suffered about 250,000 to 300,000 casualties. Ottomans lost similarly but held the line. The eventual evacuation prolonged World War I. Lesson: underestimating the enemy and poor planning can trap armies in deadly prolonged stalemates. Operation Barbarossa, June 1, 1941. Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union with about 3 million Axis troops in a massive three-pronged blitzkrieg. Hitler diverted forces to Ukraine instead of Moscow, neglected winter preparations, and overestimated a quick victory while ignoring Soviet reserves, vast distances, and supply challenges. By late 1941, German casualties reached about 800,000 to 1 million. The campaign overextended the Reich and sealed its fate. Lesson: ideological overconfidence and logistical neglect can turn even the largest invasions into catastrophic failures. The Battle of Stalingrad, August 1942 to February 1943, pitted Germany's Sixth Army under Friedrich Paulus against Soviet defenders. After early gains in the ruined city, Hitler's no-retreat order trapped 300,000 Axis troops when Soviet Operation Uranus encircled them in November 1942. Amid brutal urban fighting, freezing conditions, and failed Luftwaffe airlifts, only about 91,000 surrendered. Total Axis losses reached 800,000 to 1 million. Hitler's ideological stubbornness turned this into the Eastern Front's decisive turning point, shifting momentum to the Soviets forever. The fall of Singapore, February 1942, saw British Commonwealth forces under Lieutenant General Arthur Percival defeated by Japan's 25th Army, led by General Tomoyuki Yamashita. Defenses focused seaward ignored a rapid Malay Peninsula advance via jungle, bicycles, and bold tactics. Failing to destroy the causeway or adapt to Japanese speed and innovation, about 85,000 troops surrendered after a week, Britain's largest capitulation, shattering imperial prestige. The Battle of Caron-Sebes, September 21st to 22nd, 1788, was an Austrian self-disaster during the Austro-Turkish War. Drunken hussars sparked confusion in the dark camp near the Timis River. Troops mistook each other for Ottomans, leading to panic, friendly fire, and artillery on their own lines. 10,000 casualties occurred before the real enemy arrived to find chaos. Thanks for watching. If you learned something, like, comment your thoughts on these blunders, and subscribe for more or a part 2. Goodbye.